My name is Cynthia, and today I'm going to give you my top 10 tips concerning my experience with macaw parrots. I'm going to give you a little bit of overview about them before I get into them. They're from South America, of course, mainly Peru, but Central America also. And in the wild, they are caught by people climbing up trees, and they raid the eggs of the parrots. Now, of course, the mom and dad come around trying to defend them, and there is no case that I know of where any of the people stealing these birds get bit by the moms. I'm sure, or dads, I'm sure they get bit, but they don't lose any of their fingers. So even in desperate situations, macaws can be fairly trustworthy and not very aggressive. Now, they are then stolen into the United States, and I have read many stories where they put them into hubcaps of cars. I mean, there's all different places, inside doors of cars. They're still smuggling them, but nowadays you can usually find one that are born in the United States, because there are many breeders that are breeding them now. Now, what kinds are they? Sorry about the background noise. That is my cockatoo Tarzi, and you'll hear him here and then. There are about 80 different species of macaws, but the ones that I am most familiar with are blue and gold macaws, military macaws, I gotta look at my list here, sorry, greenwood macaws, and scarlet macaws, and hyacinth macaws. In the past, I have owned 3 of those. Now let me get into their temperament. I have found them to be very loving if they're tame. I mean, you can buy them that are wild and they haven't been handled very much, and they're hard to tame down because you're probably going to get bit by them. But I find that the larger beak birds don't break skin as much as the smaller birds do. Smaller birds can really cause your hands to bleed quite a bit, while the bigger ones tend to be just a snap at you to keep you away. But that doesn't mean you're not going to get bit. So you better get used to being bit by a parrot, because I don't care what kind of parrot you have, most likely you're going to get bit at some time. Now, I find them to be very loving when they're tame. I can hold them for hours. They like to sit on my shoulder. Again, I have talked about in the past that when you have a parrot, make sure you know that parrot very well before you put them on your shoulder, because they can do very bad damage to your face, and you don't want that to happen. But when they're tame, they're very loving. They like to be scratched all over. They like to have their beaks rubbed. They like to have their feet rubbed. And overall, they're a very nice, loving bird. Now, what can they do for you? They talk, and they're one of my best talking parrots. I find my parrot, my blue and gold parrot, tells my other birds to shut up, be quiet. She dances, she sings, she can do all sorts of fun antics. They're very nice to have around, but they can be expensive too. Let's talk about their lifetime. They can live to be anywhere from 40 to 60 years of age, sometimes even longer, according to how well you take care of them. So when you own a parrot, you should make sure that you have someone that'll take over from them if something happens to you, because you don't want them to end up in some terrible situation where somebody's not going to take care of them like you would take care of them yourself. So I have mine in my will to make sure people know who to take care of them, and they will find homes for them down the road. So again, they can live a long time, and a lot longer than a dog or a cat that you might have as a pet. So beware of that and make accommodations for that lifetime with you down the road. What do they cost? Well, they can cost nowadays anywhere from $1,300 to $3,000. You can probably even find them more expensive. It's according to which one you get. Hyacinth macaws are the most expensive ones. They in the past ran around $20,000, 10,000. I don't know what they are now. They are on the endangered list. If you buy a hyacinth macaw, you should only own them for about 10 years until they're able to breed and then turn them into a breeder, and they usually will give you a younger bird to have around because, again, they're endangered, and it's very important to keep that line available, and that is through breeding in the United States. What kind of food do they eat? I feed my parrots pellets. They can eat seed. I also give them fruits and veggies every day. And macaws, you think that because they're a bigger bird they eat a lot more. Well, they eat a little bit more, but not a whole lot. And again, best thing for them are pellets if you can afford them. Now, breeding, I've never bred a macaw. I never owned two the same kind to try to breed them. In the past, you ought to realize too that you start breeding a pet bird you have, most likely you're going to lose them as a pet because they will bond with their other bird that they're mating with, and you might never get them back as a pet. So beware of that down the road. Now, if that's what you want to get into breeding, you don't care about that. But if you have one that you love and they love you, it's a real loss if you try to breed them. And you might even lose the female because they have been known to die during having babies. So beware of that down the road if you want it, or you're thinking about breeding a parrot. Now, what have I had? Oh, the other thing you should know is because they're a macaw, most likely you're going to need a large cage. And they should have a cage where they can spread their wings out, flap their wings. So that's a pretty big sized cage. And even if you have them out of the cage for hours, they need to be in a cage where they can flap their wings and get around very easily. I personally have what's called king's cages, where they have a dome, and mine got around real well. My blue and gold loves that cage, and I also have my cockatoo in one of those too. And the cockatoo is a different kind of antique bird, but macaws, they need a lot of room to get around. So flap their wings, put their shoulders up. So don't get them a small cage. Buy the biggest cage you can. And I have mine in my living room. It takes up quite a bit of room. But maybe you have a bird room that you can put them in. And also, I have a very big stand for when I bring my blue and gold out. She stands on that for hours, gets around, chews them, and they're made of manzanita. Mine is made of manzanita. It's a very hard wood. I bought mine in the 90s. Back then I paid $350 for it. I'm sure today you're going to spend a lot more money, but that cage has lasted me since then, and I have not even had to replace any of the manzanita wood because it's so hard. She chews on them, she hardly makes a dent in them. Now if you get a perch that has the softer wood, you're going to be replacing that, which is okay because you want them to use their beak and work at that wood, and that makes their beak not get overgrown as much. And but if you don't want to spend the money, and if you don't have the availability to get the wood to replace it, then you want to get one that's made of manzanita. And again, my perch is made of manzanita, and she loves it, and she has not destroyed it whatsoever. Now, I'll talk to you about my other parrot that I had that we'll talk a little bit more about that. Now, what are the pros and cons of having a macaw? Pros are they're loving, they're endearing, they're fun to have around, they really interact with you, they like to interact with you, they like to be held, at least mine have, and I love having a macaw. What's the pros? They're messy, they chew, they can destroy a cage if you don't have a real good strong one, and they can be very loud. And in the wild, they talk to each other when they have a mate, which most of them have a mate. They talk to them by screaming through the woods. So they can go, that sound can go for miles. that they can call their other bird. So beware, that noise will affect you where you live, in a house or an apartment or a condo. That noise can be heard by many of your neighbors. So if you have a macaw, make sure you have an ability to have that macaw and not get in trouble with anybody in your neighborhood. And also that will tell people you have a macaw that somebody might want to steal that bird down the road. So beware and take care of that parrot, and double check where you're living to make sure it's okay. Now, what did I own in the past? I've had a mini macaw, which I dearly loved. He was older though. He was 25 years old, and he did die on me. When I bought him, he was like 22, 23. I had him for about a year and a half, and he died. They die just like human beings don't all live to be to their estimated age that they can live to. And I did not know how he was taken care of in the past. I did love him though when I had him, and he was real friendly, loving parrot, and interacted with me very much, but he did die on me. Now, I also had a green-winged macaw that I bought. I say used. He was older. She was older. Called her Joey. She was the love of my life, and I loved her dearly. I hugged her, and she loved to be cuddled. I held her for hours, and she died on me too. I didn't know how old she was. I didn't know how well she was taken care of. They told me when I bought her that she was maybe 10, 15 years old, but obviously she was older than that, and I did not know how well she was taken care of. She died on me one night, and I did cry for a long time, and I did miss her. I do miss her still today. Again, this was a green wing. You don't think of them as being green wing because they're basically red, and they are one of the larger macaws. Don't be put off by that, because again, she was very loving, never would bite me ever, and she never would bite anybody around me either. Very not aggressive whatsoever, and don't even hesitate to get a green wing macaw. Another parrot that I have right now is a blue and gold. Her name is Pumpkin. I've had her since she was 18 months old. Very loving, very cuddly, goes to anybody. She's one of my best talkers. She tells my other parrots to be quiet, especially Tarzy. She'll tell Tarzy, be quiet, shut up, because I must say that too. She dances, she sings, she interacts with everybody, and she loves to be out of her cage, climbing around on her perch. And I love her dearly. Now that's a blue and gold. By the way, I didn't tell you where. I did tell you they're from Peru most of the time. The blue and golds are from Peru, and if you ever get a chance to watch a video about them in the wild, seeing them fly. I had a friend that went to Peru. There's a camp you can go to and spend a week. It takes you a while to get there. You got to do it by boat through the jungles. I mean, it's quite an experience. And when she was there, the wild parrots would come right up to you, and you could hold them. These are wild parrots. Never bit them, interacted with them. She always wanted to live there, but she never did move there. But it's an experience, and again, macaws can be very cuddly, very nice. Don't think of them as being nasty birds, because they are quite nice. But you have to have the ability to have a big cage, and the other part of having a macaw is you have to interact with them on a regular basis. Any parrot, you really need to do that to keep them tame, because they can kind of get shy and don't want to be around people unless you interact with them. And I have mine out every night, and I hold her, and again, I love her, and would I ever do this again, buy another macaw? Of course I would. I'm older though. I would only buy an older one because, well, first of all, they don't always find good homes, and I wouldn't mind taking a rescue. But again, you have to make provisions, accommodations for them when you pass away, because macaws can go to really bad situations. I once was in a veterinary office bringing mine in to have her beak taken care of, because sometimes they do get long. And there was a parrot in a cage in one of these plastic containers, and the woman rescued the bird from this man that had it, and he did not take care of it. He did not feed it properly. And when I was looking inside the door, I could see it was blind. He had not given her proper nutrition, and she was blind. Now, that woman, God save her, I mean, she was willing to take on a blind macaw. I don't know whatever happened to it. But you have to be able to take care of that bird and know what you're doing. You don't want this to happen to any parrot. So make sure you do the right thing for them. And would I do it again? I wouldn't hesitate to get another macaw. I love them, and I wouldn't hesitate again to get them. Well, I hope this gave you a little bit of idea about macaws and my experience with them. And don't hesitate to get one. Do your research, though, beforehand. Make sure that that's the right bird for you. And come back and visit with me again. I try to download a new video every Monday and Thursday. And subscribe to my channel. Please give me a thumbs up. I'd love it. And comment if you have any comments. And I'd love to hear back from you, and I definitely will respond. Come back and visit with me, okay? Bye now.